Welcome everyone. This is a quick update, mainly due to a happy arrival. A well-known courier company delivered a heavy parcel. By sheer coincidence, AC owner Leo arrived 3 minutes later. Here we are opening the package. While we are oohing and ahhing, this seems like a good moment to explain my plans for my AC engine rebuild. This goes way beyond a simple overhaul. I'm taking full advantage of the AC engine project and their new redesigned components. My crankshaft, flywheel, etc. were in poor condition, so it was a good opportunity for an upgrade. While many people like to keep everything original, I would rather bring out this engine's full potential. Designed during World War I by John Weller, some of its features still look good today. The AC engine project redesigned most components to make it more durable as well as better power and efficiency. The main focus of the AC engine project was to create entirely new engines. It also caters to owners like myself retaining our old blocks, sumps, etc. This is a problem for the project because there are so many versions of the AC engine and many installations and specific requirements for each owner. What this means in practice is that I have to use my own initiative and make sure that the whole engine will come together as planned. I need to design a few minor components and either make them by hand or have a machine shop run them off. Having waited so long for the custom-made crankshaft, I was eager to check its dimensions. I'm pleased to report that everything appears to be correct. There are a number of issues to check over. The first one is how the end thrust will be taken. On the old crankshaft, number 3 main bearing has flanges to take the end thrust. Number 3 journal is longer than number 2 to accommodate this. However, on the new crank, number 2 and 3 journals are the same length. That length is 5.0 mm greater than the bearing housing. This new crank is designed to run in metric thin shells, and bearings 1 to 4 are Toyota 4AGE engine bearings. The Toyota has separate thrust washers, which are 2.49 mm thick, so they will fit nicely. It means that I have to make housings for them, so I purchased a pair of 1.5 mm thick M65 shim washers. I'll cut them in two and screw them to the block and bearing cap, with the screws having to clear the crank webs. The shims fit the caps as though they were made for each other. The next issue on my list is the front oil seal. The original seal is quite small, running against the boss of the pulley. On the new crankshaft, a larger seal will run on the polished surface on an extension of the number 1 journal. I will have the block and sump bored accordingly. The problem is that the new seal goes into the block much deeper. I need to keep it away from this recess under the block so that the sump gasket can seal well. The seal might also go too far into the sump. With the seal flush with the inside of the sump, the lip of the seal will be 1 mm from the end of the journal. I will make a small aluminium keeper plate from this aluminium disc to give the seal a flange to seat against. Next on the list is the addition of a fluid torsional damper. The original damper is in the flywheel. The old flywheel is in 2 parts bolted together with rubber bushers to separate them. Later ACs had a metallastic damper at the front, which is where dampers should be. However, fluid dampers are far more effective. A British company called Tip Top Engineering sell a universal vintage damper that resembles the old metallastic versions, so that it does not spoil the appearance. Here is the final textbook of my favourite engineer, Sir Harry Ricardo. He analysed the torsional vibrations of the crankshaft in a straight 6 diesel engine. In this graph you can see the peaks and vibrations when there is no damping. In this graph you can see the improvement with a metallastic damper. The resonant peaks have been reduced. Finally, we see the same engine with a fluid damper, with the vibration peaks almost gone. There is a challenge to get the new damper to fit my AC engine. Here you can see how close the front cross member is to the pulley. The 1/2 inch wide fan belt is a tight fit when installing it. Behind the pulley there is only 23.3mm to the nearest bolt head. Later AC engines had the block and sump flanges machined down. In my case I only need to remove material near the corners, as shown in my pencil sketch here. The outer edge of the damper is 26.5mm thick. A new pulley is needed as the old one is screwed on and the new one has to be keyed on. The new pulley will also double as a mounting adapter for the damper. Therefore I can make the pulley slightly narrower and move it 2mm forwards. 2mm is the furthest I can move the water pump pulley without modification. To assist fitting new fan belts I can file a bit off the chassis flange. In fact this small lip is mostly made of lumpy weld filler. An extra millimetre or two will be sufficient. The pulley will be held by a central 5/8 UNF bolt. The head will be made in the form of a starter dog for the starting handle. Moving to the back, the block and sump will be bored out to accommodate the new crank design, and an area will be machined flat to allow forward cross-flow oil seals to be fitted. I'll make an aluminium housing split in two so that the sump can still be removed when the engine is in the car. There's one more mod required. Looking at the back of the old crank you can see a spigot which engages in a plain bearing in the gearbox shaft. The new crank has the bearing which allows me to use a clutch centering tool for a clutch assembly. I'll have to make a spigot to attach to the gearbox shaft. I think the best way will be to remove the bronze bearing and tap a thread, then get a machine shop to turn a suitable spigot to screw in along with some thread locker. I ordered new Toyota main bearings and some classic mini big end bearings which the new crank is designed to take, and they fit too. I eventually sourced a set of BMW bearings to fit one to the number 5 main. Here are the new oil seals. The engine work now takes priority. I need to buy a new flywheel and cross shaft and then I'm ready to have the block machined. Other news, Leo gave me this rear bumper with good chrome work. Here it is going onto the car. These are made from spring steel which makes them difficult to polish for plating, and both of my old bumpers have bad rust fitting. In return I have been replica chrome plating some parts for Leo's primrose coloured Buckland. Having recommissioned the plating tanks after several months' break, the first two small parts were good, but subsequently I've had numerous problems. Renewing the GP cleaner and the acid activator helped with the smaller parts, but larger items were not satisfactory. The finish is rather rough. The kit makers, Gutierrez, are always helpful. I emailed them one evening and got a long reply before 8 AM the next morning. I need to order a few things, not from Gutierrez, such as a pH meter, so I'll wait for a few days before I will drain the tank and filter the electrolyte. We finally had a dry sunny day here, so I got the AC outside. I need to restore the steering wheel, so the first task is to extract the central controls and the wiring. Pulling the wiring tube out might release some oil, so I placed a tub under it. Then remove the coupling nut. Undo the grub screws that hold the controls in. Prise off the olive. No oil came out. I have Penrite semi-fluid grease in the box. I've also visited Leo again. I'm pleased to report that the red Buckland now has good brakes, a little more bleeding and then adjustments, and all was well. If it sounds different, that's because this has a 4-cylinder Toyota engine. It's certainly fast.
And of course with the 5th gear, it makes cruising very nice, you know. Yeah. Dreadful roads around here. Oh, we'll go this way instead.
Right, and down a bit. We did some work on the Primrose Buckland, some brake adjustments and refitting body parts and trim. Then a quick ride. No windscreen at the moment, so the soundtrack is mostly wind noise, and I didn't bring my hi-fi audio kit this time.
Should be alright.
Counter spinning.
Something's working.
Is that better?
Yeah. Oh, before it was just sinking to the ground. It's going to be a bit breezy, of course. No screen. Yeah, and once the brakes are settled in, second gear, 10 miles an hour to 30. How's that?
Yeah. Yeah.
How's that?
Well, the engine's nice and smooth now.
Yeah, the handbrake's not brilliant, but that might be just because everything's settling down.
Yeah. Oh, it's lovely and quiet, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's all for now. Thanks for watching.